following program is available in high definition on Channel 700. This program is designed and produced by the community with the support of TV Cogeco.
Hello, welcome to Oakville Matters. This is local television that delves into what matters to the residents of Oakville. And surely one of the things that matters the most to you is who works for you on the political frame. And with us today we have the MPP and the MP for Oakville, Kevin Flynn and John Oliver. Kevin, who was a 18-year municipal councillor in Oakville, certainly knows our community as well as anybody, and now he's the Minister of Labor, so you can see that eventually good behavior does sometimes get rewarded, eh?
Great to be here, Rob. Thanks for having me.
And John, you gave us our brand new fancy hospital, and for that I know every day
a few thousand other people.
A few thousand other people, but it was your leadership that got it, and I hear from people every day that their great appreciation of it. And the two levels of government, actually, when everything is working right, work as a good partner with the town. And at the moment, we seem to be in a lovely spot where all three levels of government want to work together in a constructive way. And I thought maybe it'd be fun to start with John because he's new to the trade. And you know, you've been in Ottawa now for a few months? Have you found your way around? Where are you focusing now?
Sure. So I'm 5 months in. So compared to the two of you with a long stellar career in politics, this is I'm freshly into it. And I have to say, for me, because I'm new, maybe you never lose this, but it's an incredible honor. I mean, this is a show about Oakville and that Oakville matters. And representing Oakville is a phenomenal honor. And when you are in Ottawa and you're in the House and you're speaking or you're at committee dealing with issues, after having knocked on doors and served Oakville for going on 20 years, you know the community well, and you really do feel that voice of Oakville behind you as you're speaking and talking down there. So that's, I just wanted to say that at the outset. It's an incredible honor to represent this community, and thanks for being on your show. And for me, I'm focusing, obviously with my health background, health's important, so I'm on the health committee. I'm chairing a health research caucus, and because Ford's in our town, auto and advanced manufacturing is also very important to me. So chairing the auto caucus for the Liberals, and we're pushing really hard to make sure we keep that as a very strong industry around the Great Lakes region. So. Well,
that'll be very important to Ontario and Oakville, because Ontario and Oakville both care very much about the auto industry and advanced manufacturing. I know that we have a commitment from your government to develop auto and advanced manufacturing policy. It's kind of a transformation to get to the point where we believe that an economy needs policies as opposed to just let the jungle run. So, Kevin, what's happening there for you? How far are we getting along? How are we getting along with these guys?
Really, really well. It is great to have a new government in Ottawa, and I don't want to get overly partisan, but it's nice to have people that return your phone calls, that actually know where Ontario is. And I think that people, all taxpayers, I think, regardless of what political stripe they are, love to see the levels of government working together. Love to see them traveling in the same direction. And certainly on the auto file, if we're going to talk about auto for a little bit, that is so important to the economy right here in Oakville, but all over Southern Ontario. The job creation ratio that comes along with those assembly line jobs, it's one person on the line equals 6 or 8 people out in the community. It's something that we need to nurture, we need to work together, and I think it's clearly evident to anybody that's in business themselves. When you're offering a strategic approach to an issue like the auto industry, that you need to all be on the same page. So with the Auto Caucus mayors, with the Auto Caucus now up in Ottawa, with ourselves as a former Auto Caucus chair myself, I understand, and I think the rest of my colleagues understand, that the parts spin-off, the parts manufacturing is a big part of that. So it's not only Oakville, it's rural Ontario as well. So it's just excellent to be on the same page with another level of government on this issue finally.
One of the best things you did was to discover that it's not just Ontario. You've got a member in your MP auto caucus from Quebec. And one of the things the auto mayors has been promoting is that the resource tail that feeds the auto industry extends all the way out into the resource areas of the West. So I know that over time we can grow this awareness and this effort into a national, a truly all the way across the country national effort.
So there's pressure to both keep the manufacturing we have, the assembly plants and the parts that we have, but also how do we attract new investment, how do we bring new assembly plants in. So I think for probably in the first time in the history of governments working together, Kevin and I and another member from the Provincial Auto Caucus and another member I brought with me from the Federal Caucus met for lunch to talk about how can we begin to work collaboratively, how do we start with Ontario, how do we make Ontario and the Great Lakes Basin a competitive sector to attract, I mean, an average assembly plant is what, $1.5 billion to $2 billion. How do we attract that kind of investment and the jobs and the parts and everything else that stem from that? How do we attract that next investment here?
Well, I'm thrilled that we're able to get all three levels of government in sync on this. What's happened in the past is we've had this ad hoc emergency environment when it comes time to renew a plant, and the automakers may or may not keep it going, and then the province at the last minute and the feds at the last minute have come in to save the plant. But what mayors are hoping is we'll get to the point where we actually have policy so that we can give the auto industry more certainty about how welcome they are here and how much they're valued. And we'll keep these jobs because the spin-off from auto jobs ripples throughout the economy. It's like 10 to 1. So for every job in the auto sector, you got 9 or more created in the rest of the economy. Auto plants are a form of infrastructure, albeit private in the main, but we've got other infrastructure, fish to fry, and we certainly, I mean, it was really clear during the federal election that the election was about infrastructure and whether we were going to continue to ignore infrastructure and let a kind of infrastructure deficit pile up. As I remember, the province had already committed a large amount to infrastructure, and you've now committed, your government's now committed a large amount. What are the numbers?
We've committed $130 billion over 10 years because we understand that there's a lot of catch-up to be done. Certainly, I don't think any level of government's going to heaven on the work they've done on infrastructure for Canadians over the past. We caught on to the issue, I think, midway through our term, somewhere around 2005, 2006. Talking to business was saying, if you want to be competitive, you've got to keep your infrastructure up to date. We need the transportation routes, we need the facilities, we need the servicing, we need everything that goes along with good roads and bridges. And we've committed $130 billion over a 10-year period throughout the province of Ontario. A lot of it being spent in the GTA, obviously. That's where an awful lot of the commerce takes place in this. For a while there, we felt like we were on our own. We felt like the federal government was simply was ignoring Ontario, basically, and you know, there was a small amount of money coming in, but nowhere near to do the type of thing that we envisioned. To have a partner now up in Ottawa that's thinking of a like mind, that we're going to approach this in a strategic way, we're going to phase it in so it's affordable, but we're actually going to make progress on this file. It just is, it's a different ball game right now.
What are we expecting from the federal government on infrastructure, John?
Sure. Just to go back a little bit, so for us, I mean, for me, knocking on doors in Oakville, the whole Liberal campaign commitments and promises, it was about jobs. I mean, what I heard mostly in Oakville is jobs, and stimulate the economy. So the infrastructure investment is about that. It's how do we kickstart a very slow, sluggish economy across
Sure, you can't grow
Canada.
Business and jobs if you can't move the goods and services.
So
I think everybody gets. I hope everybody gets that.
So it was a $120 billion federal commitment over 10 years. It's a historic federal investment in infrastructure. And it was, the first phase of that was rolled out in our budget that just came out about a week ago. So in the next 3 to 5 years, we have $11.9 billion of the additional $60 billion that we introduced in the election campaign is going to be rolled out. So how does that impact Oakville more specifically? So the 1/3 of that, so $3.4 billion, is going to transit. public transit. We have to get people off the roads. We have to move away from, you know, as much of the environmental consequences of our sort of carbon-based transportation. So public infrastructure is public transit's a good route for that. So based on 2014 ridership, there will be allocations to every municipality with bus lines to improve services. And I know there's a number of shovel-ready projects the town has around transit. We're looking at green infrastructure, and the first another $3.4 billion going into that. Water, so water, wastewater, stormwater. Where and how do we need that kind of infrastructure upgrades need to happen in Oakville?
You just said a magic word.
Yeah.
You know, there was a quiz show when I was a kid. Groucho Marx would say the secret word, win $100. I'll never forget that. And you just said the secret word, stormwater. Yeah. Stormwater, ever since the flood 3 years ago in Burlington, has been a huge looming liability. And we've done a massive study in Oakville to show that we've got a giant part of town that was built before anybody cared about floods or thought about them. And so it's nobody's fault living today. But we've got some after engineering, some fix-ups to do, and I expect it'll be a very, very big bill to prevent the kind of floods that Burlington suffered through. So good on you for being on that. So the goal is
to get the money to the municipalities and let the municipalities prioritize them in where they see their top tranches. The third area, and this is much more in partnership with the province, I think, is social infrastructure. So another $3.4 billion going into affordable housing, particularly in adding that shelters for victims of violence. I think we all know we need to have additional capacity in Oakville for women. New affordable housing, repairs to our existing infrastructure of public housing. So another big investment in a tranche. And coming to the municipalities, another $7.5 million to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities for climate change work, and $125 million to the Canadian municipalities for the Green Municipal Plan and fund. So I think really trying to work with the province, with the town, get money moving into infrastructure, get projects going, get jobs created, but also build for the future.
So $130 billion from the province over 10 years?
Over 10 years, yeah.
And 120
billion
that's
over 10.
Looks like 25.
Yeah.
And you know, rounding off and averaging it out, it's like $25 billion a year. That's fabulous. We might actually get a few things done that would make everywhere more livable. So I'm thrilled to hear that. Any particular infrastructure projects that you guys have agreed on for Oakville?
Well, certainly there's a number, I think, that are outstanding throughout the town that have been preconditions to further development, or have been an impediment or causing a problem with people just getting around town. And certainly with the rail crossings have been something that Oakville's still got a number of outstanding grade separations that are needed. At one point, the federal government was in the game pretty good. You could rely on them to do a couple of rail crossings a year. For reasons unbeknownst to me, that seemed to dry up, and it soon became evident that if these were going to get done, it was going to take cooperation from 3 levels of government to get it done. And we're looking at the 3 certainly in town. You look at Fourth Line, you look at Burl Oak, you look at Kerr Street, places that just cry out for grade separation. Because what's happening now is the improvements we've made to the GO train service means that trains are crossing those separations, sometimes within 10 minutes of each other, going both ways. So often you get 7.5 minutes. If you go to the 15-minute service, you've got a train crossing every 7.5 minutes.
Hold on. No, we are, because the feds are here with money. You've pledged money.
So I think this is a project that the Burl Oak railroad separation, grade separation,
the one thing
leads
to the other,
and years
right?
and years. It must go back to Bonnie Brown's days, when way back in time. It's been an outstanding issue. So with the the New Building Canada Fund, which is another $9 billion fund, it looks like at this juncture that the province has submitted a request for that grade separation, along with a number of other grade separations around Ontario. I know it's come into the federal ministry. There's a due diligence being done on it right now, but it looks very optimistic that we hopefully will have a joint 50-50 federal provincial project coming our way. It's still early. I'm not going to commit the minister or the ministry to that, but it's moving along quite nicely. I'm calling in, once every couple of weeks to make sure it's progressing and moving, and I think it's a good, an important rail separation to get in place.
Well, it's a precondition to any further development south of the QEW in Burlow.
Yeah. Well, when we get to 15-minute GO service, you'll never get across that rail line unless we have a great separation.
Every 7.5 minutes.
So we'll keep our fingers crossed and keep our eye on that ball, and I'm hoping we'll see something positive come.
We're doing the one at the top of Kerr already, and then fourth line will need to be done. But I guess we've got time. We're not going to be able to electrify the GO overnight.
No, it's coming, but certainly it's a day we're looking forward to. We're one of the top priorities. Lakeshore West line is a line that's used, is the busiest line. Oakville Station is the second busiest station after only Union Station. So people, I think in the past, have underestimated the reliance of Oakville on GO Transit. The improvements we've seen with the assistance now of the federal government, I think people showed with their feet and their purchase of tickets that if we improved the service, they'd get on the trains.
Oh yeah, you got a huge bump in ridership when you doubled the service, so that was pretty remarkable.
That's right. It rose about 35% in about a 3-month period.
Well, that's got to have been faster than anybody expected.
It was beyond everybody's expectations.
All right, so what other surprises have you found being an MP, John?
Well, I wanted to do a shout out. I mean, knocking on doors, you don't really meet the small businesses, you don't meet the industries in town quite as much. So I was absolutely delighted. There were 3 industries in town that were just awarded $7.1 million in grants through one of the green environmental funds. So these were 3 very innovative companies that are experimenting with different forms of energy, different ways of managing waste, that were awarded to $7.1 million in grants. So phenomenal, I think, innovation and research. It's a great think tank community, and very proud to have been part of seeing that announcement come into Oakville.
Well, let me ask you about something on behalf of former Mayor Harry Barrett. It's always been an important thing. Harry never forgets to mention this to me. The Bronte Heritage Waterfront Park, the thing that was built by the feds to expand create the outer harbor and everything. It's a federal property and it's managed by the region, and Harry wants it moved down to the town. The region's in favor of that, and we just need, as far as I understand it, the feds to be willing to cooperate. Do you think you'll be able to do anything with that? This question's for you, Harry. No pressure, John.
Yeah, well, obviously parks are so important to people in Oakville. The connection to nature, connection to green is a huge part of why people want to live here. That's just part of the makeup of Oakville. So I think to the extent we can make all of that work well in Oakville and have one body taking care of parks and managing parks, that would be of interest. So I think it's something we can explore together for sure.
So I'm hearing you say you're going to work on that.
Yeah.
Harry, I hope that makes you smile today, and maybe everybody else too. Let me ask you another question around it's sort of an elephant in the room federally. Community mailboxes. I'm still hearing from residents that they don't like them, and the impact of stopping the conversion to community mailboxes, which I think was a good decision, has raised a lot of calls to my office saying, well, are they going to bring back door-to-door delivery? Are you going to bring back door-to-door delivery?
Yeah, it's funny when you knock on doors, you hear other jurisdictional issues, right? There are so there's lots of town issues, province issues, and you spend a lot of your time winnowing out what is federal, what is provincial, what is municipal. So I can appreciate your hearing about the mailboxes, because we sure are. And it's true across Canada. I think something like 2/3 of Canadians now are in these mailbox systems. So yeah, it's being looked at. There's a review underway. I have no idea what the outcome of that's going to be, but certainly in the new communities where I live, most of them north of the QEW, have had mailboxes from the get-go. So people have bought their houses, moved in knowing that's the arrangement. But in the older parts of Oakville, the mailboxes have been put in very difficult locations, so they're impairing people's yards, and it's causing traffic issues and I think even some risk issues. And for more elderly people, it's a hassle and it's a problem getting out to them. So what I'll say this right now, while the study's going on, if anybody has an impairment or difficulty getting to their mailbox for health reasons, for reasons of age or mobility, contact my office. Absolutely contact us. We have a process that we can ensure home delivery is reinstated for people that have filled out this gone through the process with us. So I would encourage, particularly the elderly or disabled or people that are having trouble with mobility, to get in touch with the office.
That's a great offer. And to be fair, some people in their comments to me have been, I like it because now the junk mail doesn't come to my house. But I don't like it because they tend to throw the junk mail on the ground, which is a very un-Oakville form of behavior, folks, because you're basically throwing stuff on your own property and you're littering your own place. So we have a higher standard of behavior in Oakville, I thought, than that.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize, for those that do want to follow up on that, because it is a concern in certain parts of my riding. So our new office is open. We're at 301 Robinson, which is 1 block south of Lakeshore between Trafalgar and Reynolds. So please come by. We're up and running. I haven't got the sign up yet saying that it's the constituency office. That'll be coming soon.
That used to be the classiest patisserie in the entire,
yes.
Well, certainly in all of Oakville.
It still smells like fresh bread in there, but it's...
So you're going to serve us croissant?
But come on by for any reason. Any of the viewers that are watching, come on by the office and visit us. And for sure, if there's a mailbox concern, we'd like to hear about it.
Well, Kevin, I know that there's just as community mailboxes is kind of a special federal issue, there is a percolating along, I hear as mayor, around school building and closing. And what's your advice to people? What's your read on the situation there?
Well, the good thing about that is I think that the importance that people place on their schools in Oakville is incredible. Oakville is a very affluent community. You would think it would maybe have a private school bias, but it's anything but. The pride we have in our public schools in this town is just off the charts. What we're seeing, though, is we're seeing that with the shift in the demographics, changing populations, often schools, my own son's school, will go through a transition where the population starts to decline in the one end of town, or the children grow up and they're off to post-secondary, or they're off into careers themselves. Neighborhoods go through turnovers, so what we're asking is that we don't want to become like what we see in the city of Toronto, for example, where their board has a number of just empty facilities that are sitting around idle, where that asset could be put to very good use in educating our young people with the increased use of technology. So every so often we go through a rationalization process. We look at the schools, we look at the populations, and we ask the question, does it make more sense to combine 2 schools that are half empty, perhaps, into 1 school that is full, improve the services? So what the school boards are going through really is a rationalization process to ensure that the parents are getting the best education for their children in the best facilities we can possibly have. Everybody loves a walk to school, and for some people that can be a reality. Other people have to rely on school buses to get their kids to school. But I think when you look at the testing that is done, you've got the best education system in the English-speaking world. And when you look at the ranking of the Halton Catholic Board and the Halton Public Board over and over again, we're at the top of that list. I think we should be extremely proud of the education our kids get.
So is your advice to the parents in the new areas who want their schools built sooner, be patient, and your advice to the parents where they're studying closing schools to look on the bright side that a bigger school is a more effective and more successful school for your kid? I mean, how does this shake down to the street level?
I think if you take a look at it, just to use an example that I went through as a parent, St. Anne's School. 1 class of each grade, incredible place to send your child. The kids that you started off with in JK were still in your class in grade 8. It had that country school feel to it. The library wasn't as big as this studio. The gym was smaller. So, when you see those facilities.
I was at Pilgrimwood yesterday. You got more than 600 kids. We were in the library with all of the grade 5s. There were like 100 of them,
yep.
like at least 5 classes, I think. It was a vibrant and exciting place. My son went to a public school with like 300 kids, didn't have anything except the basic curriculum. There's no music program. The library was a corner with some books in it, no librarian. I get it that you get a better education for your kid.
Absolutely. But unfortunately, kids don't grow up in sequence with what the school board wants or with what the provincial government wants or what the town wants. You know, subdivisions appear, kids move in. You can estimate, you can project what the enrollment is going to be. Often that's inaccurate. So really you do have to wait for the community to kind of show what it's going to be. Is it going to be an adult-style community? Is it going to be a family community?
I think they turn over through many cycles.
They do.
When I moved into my neighborhood, there were no kids, and now it's full of kids.
Yep, and that's exactly what we've gone through.
So it is a very difficult thing. I have to say, just a free shout-out, the Halton Catholic District School Board is, I've lived through the public school board's former, you know, the way they would conduct these studies, and I got to say the Catholic School Board has learned a lot, or anyway, they're doing it in a much better way than what I went through in my neighborhoods when all of this was going through.
Well, in St. Anne's, actually the parents supported the school closure. They realized it was in the best interest of their children to close St. Anne's and to move them to a much improved St. Dominic's.
Yeah, all right. So, Kevin, what's the biggest burning issue for you at the province?
The province, as Minister of Labor, we're just putting through some legislation that I think really honors our first responders, our police officers, our firefighters, paramedics, people that work in our jails. And that's the emergence of post-traumatic stress disorder is an issue. But
you've done that, so what's the next thing that's keeping you up at night?
Well, we haven't done that yet. We're just passing that legislation. What we've got also is a changing workplaces review. We've come to the realization that the workplaces our children are entering, our young people are entering, simply aren't the ones that you and I grew up in. Changing work out there, it's taking kids 3 or 4 times to leave home. They're going into a world of work where there's it's temporary work, it's contract work, part-time work, 2 or 3 part-time jobs.
So you're focused
no
on, your next focus is jobs for youth?
Not jobs for youth, no, really, it's to ensure that...
Because that would have been a good answer, because at the door, that's all he heard.
I think we've got, we do have programs that are obviously running to that effect and running quite effectively to bring the youth unemployment rate down. But the Changing Workplaces review, what it is designed to do is make sure the legislation that governs our workplaces really matters in the 21st century.
So in 30 seconds, what's the biggest burning issue that you're going to deal with at the federal level? What could the people of Oakville most expect to get from you?
Well, I think youth as well, but I think I'd probably bring seniors in because I met a lot of seniors that were struggling in Oakville as well. So the Canada Pension Plan and reform of that has to happen. And if there's anything that's going to test provincial-federal relations, it's how we move forward with the Canada Pension Plan and how do we make sure that the next generation of Canadians retiring aren't retiring into poverty and aren't struggling to make ends meet, because we have a good, robust plan that we've started now. So working collaboratively with the province, with their proposed pension plan, how do we make that happen for Canadians today? I mean, that's going to be a big thrust.
Well, that's going to be a big thing for a very big part of the population. The baby boom is hitting those ages. I know I represent that. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today and participating in What Matters to Oakville. And if you have further questions for your elected representatives, we've shown you the way to contact them on the screen, and they're dying to hear from you. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next time on Oakville Matters.